As you know, Anna Polonsky, Kevin Deas. This is Nicholas Tzavaras and Weigang Lei from the Shanghai Quartet, and of course, Stephen Somary. Let me just ask how you feel. This is a long time that you've been working on this. You've been putting all this together tonight. 13 world premieres of this music of Mendelssohn. What are your feelings right now?
I would have thought that that it would have been relieved after all this work, but actually I'm really, really excited. Just hearing these wonderful performers and hearing this music really just fully come to life after all this time I don't think I'm going to sleep for days now.
I know you mentioned it ahead of time, but just give us a little bit of the idea of the scope of the unpublished music and the music that was suppressed for so long. How much actually is there?
It's just, well, as I said, it's just a number. I said a little over 270, but you know, that's just a number. When you think about it, there are 4 operas, there are some symphonies, there are concerti, this is just a sampling of the chamber music that there is choral music, there are oratorios. It's an extraordinary cross-section of music, and this is, I mean, for one evening, an extremely large sampling, but it's just the tip of the iceberg, going to cliche.
I'd like to hear from the performers as well, because so many classical musicians, of course, not only study music and know the classical repertoire for a long time, I'm sure you listen to recordings. You didn't have that. This was brand new. You looked at a sheet of paper. Let me start with you, Anna. What was that like to hear about the project and then jump in and start to work on music that no one had ever sung or played before?
Well, it's actually very liberating, because when we start any piece of music, even the biggest war horses out there, our approach is to learn it as if we are the first performer ever and it was just written. And that's constricting, because yes, we know that there are all these recordings of the war horses out there, and you're competing against quite a sampling. But here, you have the first word for everything. It's great.
Kevin?
I agree. It's actually quite a privilege to premiere work, no matter how long ago it was written. These songs are absolute gems. The duets in particular, I really enjoyed singing. It amazes me that they've not been performed before tonight. But it's quite an honor to be one of the first.
And Nicholas, what were your thoughts as you started to look through these fugues and a lot of this chamber music?
I think, I definitely think, I would hope that, I always think the subsequent performances after the first performance are always exciting, and I mean, even better, because it's like as if you're making if you're a chef and you've made a dish for the first time. Usually the first time it can be excellent, but the second and third and fourth and fifth time can be even better. And I always imagine when Casals finally performed the 6 cello suites, how long it took him to kind of digest the music. And when it comes to this music is completely new, every single piece for every one of us tonight, and it's a magnificent journey, but it can be a little bit intense in some ways, because you don't have any time to just enjoy and learn and live with something and put it down and then pick it up. That's the beauty of what we do. You come back to things, and it still was very exciting, I won't lie.
Weigang?
I'm just overwhelmed by the 270. I mean, that's like a quarter of, or 1/3 or 1/5 of Mendelssohn's complete literature. I mean, to discover that 170 years later or something. I mean, how many years later? 170 something. Yeah, it's like I feel like we actually did a Beethoven cycle about 3 years ago in China, and we premiered some of late Beethoven's quartets, like Opus 131, 132, 135. It's the same feeling. It's just masterpieces coming alive.
Stephen, let me ask you, you've been studying the music, you've been looking at it, listening to it, you're a conductor yourself. What new have you learned about Mendelssohn that we didn't know before the project started?
That's a huge question. Through his letters, we've learned so much about a new 3-dimensional character that is not taught the world. Someone who was really, really struggling with emotions in life, deeply struggling. When we're taught, wealthy, affluent, very talented, disciplined, and it's a little bit of a very very two-dimensional picture. Nice, good family man, devoted to his children, but there's a lot more to this story, and a very deeply tortured man at times in his life, other times very happy with himself and with his surroundings, but the true story that we learn through the letters is a much deeper story than the world has been led on to believe.
And is there something particularly special about doing it here tonight at the Museum of Jewish Heritage, knowing that you probably could have done it anywhere? What makes it special here?
There was no question. To be able to tell it in the context of the story of the reasons why this music has become unpublished, we found just a really perfect partner in the Museum of Jewish Heritage, because the directions that we were trying, the stories that we were trying to tell individually as separate organizations just mesh so easily with this one, and be able, once again, just to sort of come back to where I started it from, to be able to tell the story in the context still with letting the music speak for itself, which is the most important, the most sublime, the most relevant to all of this, but to be able to tell it in the context, in this wonderful building, and in this wonderful